Hi there, welcome to another Alex Breck's Banter. This is me, Alex Breck. I am an author. I have just brought out another novel called No Place to Hide in December, and you can find me on Amazon, and you can find my website, alexbreckbooks.com. So today I want to talk about a subject that has exercised a lot of people's minds, I think, over the last couple of years. And unless you've been living under a rock, really, for the last few years, you can't fail to have heard about this particular topic. Today, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. If you like this podcast and if you want to catch some more of my episodes, then please subscribe to my channel, Alex Breck's Banter, and share the love. That would be fantastic. So today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence in terms of how it affects the world of readers and writers. And there can't be many people now that haven't heard about ChatGPT in recent months, or even tried it, maybe the free version, for example. When I first heard about AI several years ago, quite a few years ago now, um, and then also again recently, this more recent evolution, I guess, of generative AI in terms of ChatGPT, I think it's fair to say my initial feelings were negative, were pretty negative. And I know that many of my fellow creatives, fellow writers, authors, artists, have been pretty scathing about AI in general, and a lot of them have even been fearful of AI. So I want to take a quick look today at the pros and cons of AI in terms of, writing books and therefore also for those of you who like to read books as well. So let's look at first of all, let's look at some of the pros of AI, some of the perceived advantages perhaps of this artificial intelligence technology. So, in this busy world that we all live in now, time is very competitive commodity. None of us have enough time. We're always trying to be more efficient and productive. Then AI tools can help writers to automate tasks. It can help increase our productivity by automating things like grammar checking and proofreading and, dare I say it, even generating initial drafts of writing. So it is very, very powerful from that respect. And editing is something we all have to do as writers. Lots of writers don't do it enough, to be honest. And, even if you're handing your work over to a professional editor, a copy editor, or, whatever stage you're at in your writing career, you really need to excuse the birds tweeting outside, by the way. It's spring here in Scotland. I'm recording this in March 2024. My little Scottish island. If you know where I live in a beautiful Scottish island. It is very rustic and remote, and the sun is absolutely splitting the sky today. Very, very beautiful, and the birds are as excited about it as I am. So they are tweeting outside my study. Hopefully it's not too noisy, but editing tools, we all hate editing. Let's be honest, it's a painful process for many writers, and editing tools can hugely help this. From a time-saving point of view, they can identify issues with, grammar, spelling mistakes, and even inconsistencies with your writing style, for example. And this can save a lot of time. It can save a lot of time. Also, on the time-saving side of things, AI can generate a lot of content very, very quickly. And, particularly if it's, short form pieces like blog posts or articles, online articles or social media updates, that sort of thing. Things that are not necessarily particularly creative, they're quite generic. Then AI can free up your time as a writer to allow you to be more creative, or to maybe, if it's if it's non-fiction, if it's other types of writing, enable you to be more strategic with your time for your business. So, allied to that, AI-powered research tools, and remember AI is famous for being able to crunch huge amounts of information, data, numbers. It can help writers gather together lots of information, quickly, efficiently, and saving all that laborious time that would be spent on manual research, which I, personally speaking, I love, absolutely love researching for a new book. No Place to Hide in the background there. Much of that was set in Tasmania in Australia. I've never been, sadly. I would love to go. I have never been to Tasmania. But, the power of the internet enables me to travel anywhere through my keyboard. And I loved the research part of that, to be honest. I really, really enjoyed it. But maybe if I was researching, something mundane and boring for a non-creative writing project, then maybe it would be a good idea. On that topic as well, we live in a global village now. We live in a global village, don't we? And so AI translation tools can help us to reach a wider audience, a broader audience, and to translate our works into, a multitude of languages, very, very accurate and efficiently, just like that. So that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? Other elements of AI which I quite like is that it helps people who maybe have individual disabilities, or for example, speech to text software. So if I was a writer but I could not operate a keyboard with my hands, if I had some issue with my arms or my hands, then it's going to be much more difficult. So to be able to talk, find that to go into text is great. It's a great innovation. And the other side of that is to be able to turn text into speech. Now, that's also can be particularly good in some cases. Now, I'll give you a good example of that for audiobooks. There's no doubt audiobooks are becoming more and more popular. I've got half a dozen books published, but I only have one audiobook. My very first Ridge Walker thriller, He Who Pays the Piper, is available on Audible through Amazon, and that's great, and I'm really happy about that. The guy who narrated it for me, Chris Barnes, did a fantastic job, very, very authentic. He lives in Scotland. He's very, very good. But to have that novel turned into an audiobook cost me best part of $3,000, $3,000 to $4,000 off the top of my head. Now, for me to make all of my audiobooks, all of my novels into audiobooks at the same kind of cost, using the same quality of narrator, would cost me the best part of $25,000. Now, I'll be totally honest and transparent. I don't make a huge fortune out of writing books. Most authors don't. The money I spent on He Who Pays the Piper to turn it into an audiobook, which is only in the last few years. It wasn't when I first published it. I haven't recouped that money at all, and it'll probably take several years before I do. And therefore, I'm weighing up, the advantage of turning my other novels into audiobooks. Of course, I understand that audiobooks are popular, but to spend $25,000 on that when it might take me the rest of my life to recoup that is another matter. So I was thinking, a lot of my fans, I'll say that not in a big-headed way, but people that like my work and who know me as Alex Breck, the author, they said to me, why don't you narrate your own books? Why don't you narrate your own books? We love the sound of your voice. I'm a coach. I coach people in business as well as writing books. So I coach people and I talk to people a lot. And they say to me, well, We love listening to your voice, your lovely Scottish brogue, as people in America like to say. Why don't you narrate your own book? So I could do that, but it's actually a lot more tricky than you would think. You have to have this podcast I'm just recording on a laptop. I have a professional microphone, but I don't really like it. I don't find it that great, and so I'm not using one right now. So you just have to judge me on the quality of this podcast right now, but it seems to be okay. But if I'm creating an audiobook, because I have looked at it myself, the strict parameters of quality to be accepted by Audible, ACX is the Amazon platform for audiobooks, is very, very strict, and I don't want to spend weeks recording a book to have it rejected at the last minute. And it would take me weeks. It would take me weeks. You've got to have a studio. You either hire a studio, which again is not free, or you need to have your office or your study all kitted out with no hard surfaces, none of this. My nice wooden desk here, that would have to be softened, insulated, the walls, the windows, all that kind of thing. It's very, very awkward indeed. And so it's a big obstacle to authors creating their own audiobooks. So when I heard about the fact that you can have text to speech, I thought, oh, okay, and I've been bombarded recently. Must be Facebook playing its tricks. Bombarded by companies trying to sell me software that can do this. There's one particular one which sounds really good, and they promised to have human-sounding voices, human-sounding narrators, and they even will do accents. So my books, I'm Scottish, in case you hadn't guessed, and my original narrator for He Who Pays the Piper was Scottish, and I would like my books to have a Scottish authenticity about them. Therefore, I would want a Scottish sounding narrator. It's no problem if I'm doing it, no problem if it's somebody like Chris Barnes. But what about software? So they promised British sounding voices. So I thought, oh, I'll have a look at this. It's interesting. And they had English sounding voices, Irish voices. Of course, in America, Ireland is very popular. Being Irish is very popular. Ireland probably better marketed than Scotland is. And they didn't have a Scottish one. They didn't have a Scottish dialect, a Scottish accent. And even listening to the Irish ones, I know lots of Irish people. A lot of my stories are based in Ireland. They didn't sound right to me. They didn't really sound right to me at all. And I just think it would really diminish the quality of my writing. Not that I'm saying I'm Hemingway or anything, but I think it would diminish the quality of my writing if I used some kind of software like that. To me, it seems like it's cheating. And just as a word of warning to anybody who's thinking about this, oh, maybe I could just turn my fitness ebook or my recipe ebook or something like that into an audiobook, just get software to do it for me. Amazon don't accept audiobooks that have been created by AI anyway. So even if these guys sounded exactly like me, it wouldn't be allowed by Amazon. Even when we're writing, when authors are writing novels and we submit our novels for scrutiny, you have to say if you use AI or not in your books, and they really don't like it. So from a making money out of books point of view, with Amazon particularly, maybe not the best idea, but if you struggle in some way physically with speaking or with typing, then yeah, I think this technology is a great idea. So that's fine. Let's move away now from efficiency and productivity and all that boring stuff and talk about the real nub of all this, which is creativity. Can AI actually help with creativity? And we talked about audiobooks there, but AI tools can actually serve us, can enhance our creativity by generating ideas, by generating prompts, by suggesting different ways to think about things, alternative perspectives, and all of that can spark that creative process. For example, I've never flown a jumbo jet. Okay, I have no idea how that would work. Although I have flown a plane. I've flown a single-engined plane and I loved it. I've been in single-engine planes a few times. And at one point I was thinking about getting my pilot's license. So I was very, very keen on the idea, but I've never flown a jumbo jet. I have no idea how to do that. And if I was writing something in one of my novels where there was a pilot involved, I would really struggle to get an idea, a perspective, an authentic perspective of how to fly a jumbo jet, a Boeing 747 or whatever. But there's probably, and I'm just guessing, but there's probably a memoir out there written by a jumbo jet pilot, and I could find that book and I could read it, and that's fine. I read a book recently that was a memoir of a trauma surgeon who'd been to Syria and Iraq and all these places, and Haiti as well. So Haiti, very, very topical right now in March 2024. It's a war zone, in Haiti right now. And this lady, American trauma surgeon, she wrote a memoir, and it was harrowing but inspiring at the same time. And the things she had to go through and the things she saw, it was shocking, and it gave me a real insight into the world of being a trauma surgeon. But you might not have time to to read a book like that, or you might just never find a book like that. I just stumbled on it by accident. And there might be dozens of books written out there about how to fly jumbo jets. And so AI could gather all that information in a second and put it into some kind of format, and it might give me some creative ideas about, how to talk about flying a jumbo jet to make it sound more realistic. I'm not saying I would copy it, it would just spark my creativity and give me a way of thinking about that. So from that point of view, it can really enhance our creativity, I think. AI writing assistants also can give us feedback. They can give us personal feedback on our own writing and suggest ways that our own individual writing style perhaps could be tweaked or changed, or isn't consistent, which may help us to improve our writing chops, improve our skills. So that's got to be a good thing. AI tools can help us be consistent in our writing style, in the tone of our writing, in the formatting of our writing. And much as I don't really like that idea from a creative point of view in terms of writing fiction, if you are, for example, I was helping somebody recently collaborating on a business book. I wasn't involved in it, but I was helping somebody else. And there was a dozen different people writing a dozen different chapters. And there was a huge difference in the quality of the writing, in the tone, and it just didn't gel very well. But AI, for example, could help make all of these pieces sound similar in terms of their style. So it's easier from the reader's point of view. You're not, jumping from one thing to another. And that collaborative, from a business book perspective might be a great idea. So that might be helpful. So there are good things about AI, in general. And let's now look at the negative sides of things, because for me, there are a lot more negatives than there are positives. And, when things become easy, we like easy, don't we? People like easy. They like simple. So if you start using AI to write your articles for you, you're going to keep doing it. You're going to end up becoming over-reliant on it. You're going to become lazy. We invented the car and we don't walk or run anymore. All of these things, we're our own worst enemy sometimes. So your writing skills and your creativity is very much an evolution. I wasn't born being able to write a book, and I never thought I could write a book for a long time. But you develop over time, you evolve, you get better at things. The more you do it, the better you get. Your skill gets better, or should do. But if you're continually depending on technology to do it for you, then you're not necessarily going to improve. You're not going to get better. You might get worse. You get lazier and lazier. And depending on technology, don't we all love technology when it works? Yeah, but it doesn't always work, does it? So that has its own issues as well. Also, if you're technologically challenged, shall we say, if you're maybe an older writer, and I have to say I am an older writer, but I love technology. But if you're struggling with technology, you may face huge challenges using AI as it evolves and changes, as it always will do. So as new AI tools come along and you've got lazy and you've got used to using existing tools, you might find you can't work them anymore. You don't know how to do it. You don't know how to get trained on how to do it. You don't know how to access it. And therefore, you're going to end up uh, coming to an impasse with your writing. So, that dependency, I think, is a key problem. But for me, one of the biggest problems is quality. It's the quality of the writing. AI can generate content. It can, spew it out. And I use that word advisedly because it can just absolutely vomit out huge amounts of content, just like that. That's one of the so-called advantages of AI. But it very much depends on what you ask it to do, you know. And I love an expression we use over here in this part of the world: rubbish in equals rubbish out. So if you don't ask the right questions of AI software, and there's a high risk that the quality of that output is not going to be as good as writing that you could have created yourself, human created written work. So, especially from a creative point of view. So creativity, emotional depth. We're going to talk about all that in a minute. Emotional depth and cultural nuances. I'm from Scotland. My cultural background might be different to yours if you're listening to this in California. I've worked in California and I've come across that. We have different ways of doing things and different ways of talking about things. So AI is quite famously bad sometimes at misinterpreting uh, context, or intention, and that can lead to huge errors in the content, in the writing, in particularly if it's a complicated or a nuanced subject matter. And what's more complicated or nuanced than us, the humans? So, from a personal point of view, I would never, ever suggest using AI to create a final draft of a piece of work or anything like that, especially fiction. I don't know about you, but I can spot AI written text a mile away, and I'm sure you can as well. So there are, apart from that side of the quality, there are also issues with bias. Bias is a big issue, and let's be honest, ethics, ethical concerns. AI algorithms, and if you understand what an algorithm is, it's a computer program that learns or should learn and grows, and it can inherit biases from us, from the data that it's given, maybe as it's training. AI has got to learn, it's got to go through a training process, and that can perpetuate, unfortunately, stereotypes, or it can be discriminatory as well in terms of content. If you remember way back in where it's about 2020, there was you might have heard of Lee Luda. She was called Lee Luda. Was ostensibly a 20-year-old female college student, but she was actually a chatbot, and she had to be taken offline pretty speedily because she picked up very, very quickly, picked up and adopted and expanded on very nasty racist and sexist attitudes that she picked up from having about 750,000 chat conversations in the matter of a couple of weeks. Now, you and I could never have that many conversations that quickly, but she, had all these conversations. People didn't even realize they were talking to a machine. They thought it was a real person, and she turned into an absolutely horrible person just very, very quickly. So that's a huge issue with AI and the way that we The information travels around the world very, very quickly right now. I could write a post on social media that could be seen by tens of thousands of people. If I was a big, influencer, I could put something on Twitter or X, or I could put something on YouTube that could be viewed by 1 million people, in the space of a few hours. So that kind of issue with discrimination and the ethical aspect is a big worry to me. Also originality. Of course, originality is one of the key things about AI. There's a very, very high risk, I would say, of plagiarism when people are using AI generated content. And that's, one of the first things that I, really freaked out about as an author. And, a lot of AI, not necessarily doing it maliciously, it's just the way they work. They're going to inadvertently replicate work that's already been written by other people, by real humans. So it's stealing ideas, it's stealing information, and it's not right, and it's not giving attribution to the people who have actually done the work. And let's be honest, let's be, totally honest here. What does AI stand for? Artificial intelligence. But is it actually intelligent? Like, hopefully like we are, like we like to think we are anyway. No, of course not. It's not really intelligent. A better way to, a more apt way to describe AI would be plagiarism software. Plagiarism software, because that's what it does. It scoops, scours the internet, gets huge amounts of information, and then cherry picks the bits that it thinks you might want. So AI lacks emotional intelligence. AI must struggle to understand the depth of human emotions or human experiences because it's never actually felt those things. So that's, I think is absolutely critical. It's crucial in terms of writing certain kinds of literature, even, thrillers like I write, or poetry, where every word, has a nuance. I love poetry. I don't profess to be able to write it, but I really love poetry. I love studying poetry. And what really turns me off about AI generated content is where it lacks that human touch, that authenticity that, hopefully, hopefully, people say my writing, I'm not saying I'm super duper author, but people like they resonate with my way of writing, my way of looking at things. So my audience resonates with my way of writing, not some computer. And if they suddenly suspected, if you as my readers, for example, suddenly suspected that this work was written by a machine, I'm sure that would be a clear disconnect, a clear disengagement. Certainly for me, if it's the other way around, that would be it. Game over. I would not want to read any more from an author who did that. I in my other life, I help people with business and blockchain. I'm involved with the technology behind all that. I'm super big fan of blockchain. And part of that is the advantage of blockchain is privacy and security. And we live in an online world now. Everything is online. And I have huge, huge worries and concerns about privacy and security. And AI, by its nature, is very much asking us for personal or sensitive data often. So it's scooping up all of personal information. And, we all know what happens with online private information. It gets breached, hacked, people misuse it. And so it's just increasing that likelihood of things happening. So again, I don't like that. And then the last big problem I have with AI is probably the first thing that I thought of when I heard of it, a few years ago, is OMG, this is going to steal my job. AI is going to steal the work of writers, particularly if you're writing non-fiction, I think. But it's going to steal our work because it's going to be able to write. I've seen people boasting that an AI tool can write a book in 30 seconds, if not 30 seconds, 30 minutes. I can't write a book in 30 minutes. It takes me a year to write a book, and even then, sometimes longer than that. So a year or two to write a book. I'd love to be faster, but that's just life. Life gets in the way. So I worry that AI is going to displace some kinds of human writing activities, particularly if it's, in business, in industry where, you know, things are a bit more automated, they're a bit less stylized, a bit more generic, perhaps, then AI is going to be able to do that for us. And so the people won't be needed anymore. I mean, obviously automation is rife through everything in technology nowadays. And, I sadly foresee lots and lots of jobs going across the world in many, many different industries. But AI particularly is not necessarily going to be good news for writers, for creatives, for artists. And we just need to keep an eye out for it. Remember, just to finish off very briefly, remember this: AI will never fall in love or fall out of love. How much great literature, is about love, falling in love, or even more probably falling out of love. We all remember what it's like to fall out of love, to be dumped, to not love somebody when we should love them, or not be loved by somebody when they should love us. We all go through that. I'm very happily married for more than a quarter of a century, but I still remember being a teenager and being dumped. That kind of thing is there. AI will never experience that. It'll never get sick. It'll never get infirm with age. I'm not as young as I was 30 years ago when my wife and I first met. And we become older, and some of us can become frail, and that great expression, youth is wasted on the young. You say that to somebody in their 20s and they just look at you sideways. You say it to somebody in their 60s, they understand. AI will never understand that. And so, I've never had a baby, and I laugh sometimes when men talk about, oh, that was like giving birth. Obviously, we don't know what it's like to give birth, but AI will never know. Half the population is female. If you're a female and you've given birth, that's an experience that AI can never replicate and never be able to understand. So as writers, I would just say to hopefully reassure you and make you feel better about all of this. As writers, don't be afraid of artificial intelligence. It's just a tool, and we've become the apex species on the planet by using tools. Just, use AI if you want, or don't use it if you want, but don't be afraid of it. And the way to counteract the advances of technology is to become more human. Be more human. We need more human thought and more authenticity. That famous marketing phrase, nobody can be you as well as you. Nobody can do you better than you. So be yourself, be authentic, whatever it is, whether you're writing about recipes or car mechanics, or you're writing the next War and Peace. Just be more you. Be more authentic in your relationships, in life, and don't be frightened about AI, because it'll never be us. It'll never be us. So that was it for today. I just wanted to get that off my chest, really. That's it from this episode of Alex Breck's Banter. I'll post this on my podcast show. I'll also this was being recorded visually, so I'll put it on my Alex Breck YouTube channel. And I just want to finish off with a disclaimer, of course, that this article and this video was made by a real 100% human, with all my flaws, all my stutters and faults that you'll hear as all the way through this probably. Hollywood does not beckon. I know that already. You don't need to tell me. So 100% human powered, always will be. I promise you, never use AI in my writing. So go out and have a great day. And that's it from me, Alex Breck, on the west coast of Scotland. Bye bye now.